So a few months ago, I was speaking with my friend Rob and his friend John. I was describing all the work I've had to do to prepare for my trip, like getting visas, raising money for charity, and deciding what to pack.
And plus, I'm starting this podcast.
How are you going to maintain your vegetarianism?
Mongolia, I think, is going to be a little tricky.
You're going to be eating mutton everywhere.
Yeah, I hear Mongolia is like the worst cuisine in the world. Like, it's not like the Mongolian barbecue you have here. It's like literally, it's nothing like it, apparently. They have very few vegetables, no fish to speak of. Yeah, like fermented mare's milk, horse meat kebabs. In a case like that, like, I don't speak the language, but you want to, you don't want to be rude. You know, if someone, offers you something, how do you...
eat the mutton. They'll get all Genghis Khan on you.
Yeah. I mean, it may have to... You know, if it's like white meat, I think maybe I may have to try it.
There's no white meat in mutton.
Not in mutton. I don't know what they're
That's
eating.
what they eat. They
it's
eat
probably all
sheep, man.
They have chickens.
They don't have...
You don't think they have chickens? I don't know.
He's in a yurt. They're going to give him nothing but mutton. Nothing but mutton.
You need to make t-shirts for you and your brother that say
nothing but mutton.
As soon as you cross that border, the t-shirt goes on.
With a sheep's head on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to.
I'm Scott Gurian. I'm a longtime public radio and print reporter, and I've always loved traveling and experiencing different cultures, so I've created this podcast called Far From Home to document my adventures. On this first season, I'm telling the story of a massive road trip my brother and I are taking this summer across Europe and Asia. We'll be driving 11,000 miles.
11,000?
That's right, a quarter of the way around the Earth from London to Mongolia through 19 countries, 8 time zones, 5 mountain ranges, and a few deserts in a ridiculously tiny car.
It's like the Beverly Hillbillies.
It's not for the faint of heart.
It's the adventure, isn't it? It's just the thing of pushing yourself to the absolute limit, because I think it's going to take us out of our comfort zone, but in a really good way.
If you're just joining me, I suggest you go back and listen to the first few episodes in order for all of this to make a bit more sense. Basically, I've spent the past year shuffling between foreign consulates, getting vaccinated for diseases I've never heard of, and dealing with all sorts of logistical nightmares to make this trip a reality. And I'm bringing all of you along with me for the ride. As my brother and I have been telling people about our trip, one question they've often asked us is, what will you eat? We're both pescatarian, meaning we do eat fish and dairy, but we don't eat meat, which we're thinking might make our journey through the meat-loving countries of Central Asia a bit difficult at times. And I'll say off the bat that I consider myself a foodie. I love cooking and trying new things, just not things with legs. Now, to be honest, there's a small part of me that feels a bit sad that maybe that means I'm missing out when traveling to all these places with their unique culinary traditions. But c'est la vie. We wanted to get a sense of what to expect on our journey, so we took a field trip to Queens, New York a few weeks ago to sample the culinary offerings.
Here with my brother, Drew. Drew, say hi.
Hey, how's it going?
So, actually, we are recording the podcast live this week at Chibarachnaya, Bukharian kosher Jewish Uzbeki restaurant in Queens, to hopefully get a taste of some of what we might be in for.
What's recommended on, what is this that you printed out?
So we looked online, and someone wrote a review of this place, and they said there were a fair amount of vegetarian options. We've got the menu here. Lots of pretty pictures.
Things that you kind of predict from the general region, like a hummus and a baba ganoush and all of that.
So I don't think of that as Central Asia, though. I think of that more as Greece and Turkey.
But it's regional, right? I mean...
It's a big region, I guess. I don't know. Well, they call them samsi. I guess that's their version of like a samosa that they'd have in India. They're like little, not dumplings, what would you call it, like turnover kind of things.
We should definitely get the pumpkin samsi as well as the mushroom chabureki.
Chabureki, yeah. I think that's also like a turnover. Yeah, like a fried.
The one is not. But it's saying it's less flavorful than the deep fried ones.
Okay. We won't be getting the beef brains, I guess. Hey, you want to try the veal feet soup?
I'll probably pass on that today.
Okay. I think we're ready to order, yeah.
We do the chabureki with mushroom. One of those, one with cabbage, one Israeli salad.
And what's your name, by the way?
It's Roshan.
Roshan,
Yes.
okay. I'm Scott, and this is my brother Drew. Are you from Uzbekistan? or no?
No, I'm from Kazakhstan.
Oh, you're from Kazakhstan. Well, we're interested because we're
Going to Kazakhstan.
I was born there. I was studying there, and my parents, all my family live there. I came here just months ago.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay. Is food in Kazakhstan much different than food in Uzbekistan?
No, food in Kazakhstan
It's
is
very-
like this.
Very similar.
Yes,
Okay.
very much.
So tell me about like food in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. What is it like for someone who doesn't know?
Because Uzbekistan is like here, Kazakhstan is here, Turkish is here, Tajikistan here. We are all like close, and the food is similar in that we all have like these dough products. Like
dough
some
kind of,
sweet
yeah.
chibireki. Also, we eat horse meat,
Right.
lamb meat usually, and beef, and no pork, like in all Muslims countries.
Do you eat much fish at all or no?
No, not fish. Because the USSR, the Kazakhstan only got the 2% of water
Right.
of the whole USSR. Yes, it's not too much water in our country, so fish is not like so popular.
Part of what we're wondering why we came here is because we don't eat meat. We're vegetarian. We actually eat fish, but I guess it doesn't matter if we're not going to find fish anyway. But when we go to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, are we going to have trouble finding vegetarian food?
Not so many trouble, but it's not like common like in USA.
Right.
In our country, it's very like rare to meet vegetarians, so everybody eat meat, and you're gonna eat just salads or something like this.
Right.
Yes.
Do you miss
That
Kaz?
would be difficult for you.
It'll be a little difficult. Yeah. Do you miss Kazakh food since you've been here?
No, I'm not, because I'm working here.
you're
now.
working here, you get to
yes,
eat
and
it
I'm
all the
eating
time.
the same that I ate at home.
Right.
So.
Okay, so we'll start with that, and then.
Okay, you will start with one chibureki with mushroom, one chibureki with cabbage, one samsi with pumpkin, and one Israeli salad.
Yes,
That's
for,
it?
for now, and then we might get some more. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you very much. So the thing I love about New York is that you could find pretty much any kind of cuisine here. It's a huge city, enormous melting pot. There's ethnic communities from all over the world. But the one cuisine that apparently does not exist in New York is authentic Mongolian cuisine. I looked far and wide and wasn't able to find that. So just a little bit of an explanation. When people think of Mongolian food here in the U.S., it's often, you choose it's like a buffet area. You choose the meat you want, the fish you want. If you want fish, or I guess in America it's fish. In Mongolia, they never eat fish. Apparently there's a bunch of lakes, but they have this cultural thing against fish. Just like we have a cultural thing against horse meat, which is really popular in Mongolia. So I guess every culture has its thing. But yeah, you choose your meat, your vegetable, your sauce or whatever. You give it to a guy at this big round grill, and he kind of stir fries it up for you. But that's not real Mongolian food. In fact, from what I understand, that's actually was, I think, from Taiwan a bunch of years ago. That's where that was invented. Authentic Mongolian food is the reason it can't be found even in the city the size of New York is that it just would not be very enticing to most people in the West. I actually came across this article online that I'll link to on our website by this guy Tim Wu. It was called The Most Disgusting Food Ever, about what he referred to as the culinary horrors of Mongolia. This is an article written a number of years ago for Slate, and the overriding thing he encountered in Mongolia was mutton, just everywhere you go. And it says it's not just the taste, but just the smell that gets to you. Like by the time you leave, your clothes, everything is reeking of mutton, apparently. They went with a tour guide. Of course, they drink a lot of vodka. It's near Russia. The guide thought it was a good idea to flavor the vodka with these crushed large black beetles that were crawling under their tent every day. Capping the end of their trip, driving across the country, the guide decided to cook this big meal for them. And so they slaughtered a sheep. They have the sheep's head removed, and they're just sampling one organ after another. He says it was like an anatomy lesson, and this is like a horror film, except I am eating the special effects. So obviously, we're going to have to bring some of our own food. So while we're waiting for the food to arrive, let's give some other kind of updates on everything we've been up to. So you've been busy recently kind of researching some gear that we're going to try to bring with us?
Yeah, I've been looking at lots of the technological and navigation types of things that will help us along our way, between walkie-talkies and GPS and dash cams and solar chargers and lithium-ion batteries to be able to charge technology off of when we're sort of off the grid, things of that nature. So currently have an Amazon shopping cart full, and of course have been asking lots of people for advice for many of these different things and have gotten some great feedback. So I think we're on a really good path and getting really close to all the things that we need, all the supplies that we need anyway.
And I've been busy with a bunch of things on my end. We purchased travel insurance. If you're stranded in the middle of nowhere, you want to make sure you're covered because, of course, your regular health insurance won't cover you in many of these countries we're going to. God forbid we need to be medevaced or, whatever, wherever we are. We have to get a whole bunch of vaccinations. And do you even remember? I've forgotten the list of all the vaccinations we needed to get. I mean, we've got hepatitis A and B.
Some type of European encephalitis.
We're debating. There's some kind of tick-borne encephalitis, which you can't even get the vaccine here in the U.S., so we're debating. Nor in Canada when Drew went, So we're debating maybe getting that when we're in Europe and in London before we leave on our trip. Gotten the standard ones, a polio booster, and the big one was rabies, just because we're going to be driving across Mongolia and through Tajikistan in the middle of the mountains. It's just we're going to be far from cities and towns in a lot of these places, and just because we're so remote, worst case scenario, if we were bitten by some kind of rabid animal, rabies is the kind of thing that you really need to get medical attention right away. So you still need to get treated right away if you have the vaccination, but it does buy you a little bit more time, another 24, 48 hours, whatever it is. So we have to get a series of 3 rabies vaccinations, which was ridiculously expensive. It was like $300 a pop or so. And apparently if you got it anywhere outside of the U.S., it would be a lot cheaper, but we don't have a choice.
Well, I guess as the doctor at the travel vaccination clinic had explained, because it's not a vaccination that most Americans get, there's essentially one company that produces it, hence they can kind of have it cost whatever they want it to cost.
Right. Otherwise known as a cartel.
There's that, yeah.
Thankfully, we found a travel clinic in the city that was a little bit cheaper. When we paid in cash, gave us a bit of a discount. We got all our vaccinations at this point. We've gotten our visas for Russia. Turkey was easy. That was just an online e-visa thing. Uzbekistan. We got Tajikistan as well, which actually interesting story with that. In order to get the visa, we had to get a letter of invitation, which a lot of these countries require. It's just kind of this stupid bureaucratic extra hurdle that they make you jump through. Basically, you just need to contact a tour company in the country. You pay them a small fee, and they issue this letter saying that they're inviting you to the country. It's kind of dumb because it's not like it's someone who could vouch for you, like a family member or a friend. You're just paying them, so none of us quite see what the point is. But so we found this tour company that was willing to issue us a letter of invitation. I went online, emailed them back and forth, and so we had to pay them by the only way they accepted payment was like to wire them the money, which actually turned out to be a lot more difficult than we thought it would be. So picture this, it's about 4 a.m. our time, because I was trying to deal with different time zones, and so I was working, around Tajik time. I call up Western Union, and I speak to the guy, and, he immediately, they connect me to the fraud department because they don't believe it's legitimate, quite understandably. Who is trying to wire money to Tajikistan at 4 a.m.? They thought it was some kind of scam that I was falling for. And I understand it was in my best interests. They were kind of looking out for me. But no matter what I said, he's asking me, well, do you know who this person is you're sending the money to? Have you ever met them? And I'm saying, well, no, it's a tour company. How would I have met them? I've never been to Tajikistan. And he just was not buying it no matter what I said. So they ended up denying the money, and thankfully I was able to go to a MoneyGram and send the money that way instead. But that was entertaining. It's funny, as we're going through this whole process, we encounter lots of kind of little quirks and stories like that in every step of the way. It's just kind of made our whole planning process for this trip even more interesting. So at this point, we've got all those visas. The only 2 we're still waiting on are Iran and Turkmenistan, which we expect to have in our hands by the time you're hearing this podcast. The other big thing we did today, we actually took a first aid class because we figured we're going to be traveling all these places in remote areas. We just want to make sure we have all the skills we need for our trip. So here's a little bit of that.
Good morning. Welcome to the American Red Cross CPR program. My name is Charlie. I will be your instructor today. With me,
My brother and I joined several dozen other people in a big room on the 16th floor of an office building in Midtown Manhattan for a full day of classes teaching us how to respond to a variety of medical emergencies. First, there were the obligatory dramatic reenactment training videos.
Joey, are you okay?
Joey, are you okay?
Then the step-by-step instructions.
Check for response. Take your 2 hands and tap and shout. Wake him up. Hey, are you okay? He's not moving, he's not blinking, he's not speaking. What do I need to check for next? Breathing. Where do I look for breathing? The chest. I'm looking close.
And finally, hands-on practice on CPR dummies.
Count out loud and keep pace with the metronome while giving 30 compressions. Ready? Begin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pushing nice and deep.
In the afternoon, we made tourniquets and learned first aid for choking, burns, seizures, and heart attacks. I couldn't help but notice, though, that there was one step in all the instructions we learned that wouldn't really be of much use on our trip. So after the class, I asked our instructor.
The final answer in all this was call 911, which,
That's the common theme.
Exactly.
Something that's not necessarily applicable in Turkmenistan. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Probably
that's
not.
fair.
Yes.
When he's not teaching first aid and CPR classes, Charlie Wahlberg works as a paramedic for New York City's 911 system. I wanted to get his advice for our trip.
I'm trying to think of the main things conceivably that we could encounter. Obviously, heat stroke. We're going to be going through the desert. Altitude sickness is a potential issue. I think we get up to like 3 miles high at one point. And then obviously food poisoning, I guess, is a potential issue. And then,
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, it could. Anything that doesn't look right or smell right for me, I'm not going to participate in, but that makes me a pretty boring traveler. So
I think a lot of stuff where we're going is not going to look or smell right. It's just culturally not what we're used to,
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
yeah. And then, I don't know, maybe snake, scorpion bites, things like that, conceivably.
Those crazy spiders in Turkmenistan,
the camel spiders or whatever.
spiders, yeah.
I hear they look scarier than they actually.
Fantastic.
They look very scary, but I think they're not as dangerous as they look, apparently.
That's
But,
comforting. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Whatever helps you sleep at night through Turkmenistan or whatever, that's fine.
Obviously, this is very different from what you encounter in your daily, work. But off the top of your head, any other things we should watch out for?
I mean, that seems like quite a comprehensive list to begin with. I would say that, first of all, having the appropriate stock first aid kit. If you're hours away from your local hospital and 911 is not a resource, you need to have some level of providing definitive care.
Charlie recommended we purchase a wilderness first aid guide that would cover more of the potential scenarios we might find ourselves in. He also suggested we take several steps in advance to prepare for any emergencies that might arise.
Anyone in your group or in your purview of responsibility, you should in advance secure a piece of paper that has all their medical history, all their medications, all their allergies in one place. Any special considerations unique to that patient all compiled together. And that's something you'd keep in the first aid kit as well so that you could hand that to the international medevac crew should that become an issue. What I would say is if you are going to be in the car for long periods of time, having basic rations is incredibly important. Having a schedule for how those rations would be handed out in an emergency so that not everyone's freaking out, that there's a plan. The more prep you can do, the better. And living your life with a higher degree of paranoia than normal is probably for the best at this point.
Yeah.
But also have fun. I mean, go nuts. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Charlie later emailed us a detailed list of supplies we should get to stock our first aid kit. So now we have a bunch more things to add to our rally shopping list. Hopefully we'll never have to use any of it, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. Back at the restaurant, our food had finally arrived, and after we both got to try it, I asked my brother for the verdict.
It's good. These sort of turnover empanada type of dishes.
The pumpkin-filled ones.
Yeah, they're really good. Obviously very homemade. Not something I think I would go home craving, but
it's not one of the great cuisines of the world. It's not like Indian or Thai food or French food or something. It's
and
simple.
I think, the salad is sort of as expected, I suppose. I mean, a lot of countries that are really meat-rich and the veggie dishes tend to be fairly basic.
It's not bad. It's just
It's
simple. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes me excited. It doesn't make me look forward to the cuisine so much. But this does give me some hope that we'll be all right.
Our departure date for the rally is coming up quickly, and we've still got tons of things to figure out, from getting car insurance to shopping for supplies to getting used to driving on the left side of the road. If you have any questions, or if you just want to send me feedback, you can drop me a line at info@farfromhomepodcast.org, and I'll try to get to it in a future show.
So I was thinking, just because of all the logistics, that it would be interesting to start a podcast just to document all that we need to do between now and
You're going to be documenting diarrhea.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to be documenting. Oh, God. It all started in Bishkek. Why did I eat that mutton?
Remember, you could visit my website at farfromhomepodcast.org to sign up for my MailChimp newsletter and follow our adventures on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Coming up next time, we fly to London to make final preparations for our journey when developments in the news lead us to consider last-minute changes to our route.
I mean, I don't think we can avoid Turkey altogether.
We can due to the route, but
Is it mainly Istanbul you're concerned about?
I've never been to Istanbul, and I was really looking forward to it, but I understood maybe this isn't the best time.
Thanks as always to the Public Radio Exchange for podcast hosting and technical support. They've got lots more audio to make your ears educated, entertained, and happy on their website and on the PRX Remix channel that's on satellite radio and their iPhone and Android apps. You could listen and find out more at prx.org. And just a final favor to ask, if you like what you hear, please remember to visit the iTunes store and give a rating or write a quick review of this show to help others find it. And tell a friend. I'll see you next time.
Every stage of this process you think is the hardest. That's the weird part about it. Like, oh my God, buying a car is the hardest thing ever. The paperwork is crazy. And then it's something else. It's like, oh my God, finding a hotel is the hardest or whatever it is. And so it's a constant state of worry and anxiety at times. But I think that's why it's so much relief when you know you're making it.